It says it was not mixed with faith in them that heard it. So what this tells us is that we have a responsibility, or our part in this is to take what we hear from God and mix faith with it. Now we can either do it or not do it. See, I think sometimes we misunderstand faith and believing, and sometimes I think people think of faith as something that's not under our volitional control, something that comes on you like a seizure, that you can't help yourself. It's not that way at all. You choose. I believe you choose to believe. And I like to even say it that I choose to believe it. Well, what do we hear from God? Well, this is what we hear from God. Now, I've never heard God speak out here. I suppose that would be really cool. I suppose that would be remarkable. I'd like to hear the voice of God, I think. Might be scary, I don't know. I've never heard the voice of God out here with these ears. You know what these ears pick up? The physical world. God's a spirit. Faith is the evidence of things not seen, not perceived with the physical senses. We read what God has revealed to people like Paul, and what Jesus had to say, and to hear this writer to the Hebrews. And now I can take this what's in the Bible, and I don't mean to be irreligious when I say this, because I value the Bible, but really, you know what? It's just ink on a page unless you take it and choose to believe it. It's really no more value. See, it said that the word preached didn't profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it. So our part in this is to mix faith with what we hear. Now, that sounds easy until you think about the fact that God isn't necessarily moved by the things that seem really big to us. And He speaks right over the top of things that seem impossible to us. Now, we just got through talking about how the word preached didn't profit them. Let's read about them just for a minute, and I think we can see something. The story that I was referring to is in Numbers chapter 13. And this is the story, and to give you where we are in Numbers chapter 13, the children of Israel have come out of Egypt. Moses has been sent as a deliverer, and all the plagues have now happened, and the blood of the Lamb has been shed, and Pharaoh let them go, and they came out of Egypt. Pharaoh chased after them. They crossed the Red Sea, and Pharaoh and his chariots were destroyed in the Red Sea. And they crossed the Red Sea, and they crossed the wilderness, and they come up right to the borders of the Promised Land, the land of promise. The land God promised them would be a land flowing with milk and honey. I would say, picturing our life as Christians, a life that flows with the blessings of God. And we just got through reading, and we know the punchline ahead of time, that they did not mix faith with what they heard. And this is sort of like a negative example for us. But let's read about it. Verse 1 says this: The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Send thou men, that they may search the land of Canaan, listen to this, which I give unto the children of Israel. Now, do you notice that God said right up front, I give this to you? He said, I give it to you, now send men to search it out. You know, it's interesting, to me anyway, to ponder, why did He do that? Why did He have them send in, before they went in, why did He have them send in spies to search it out? Well, I think, this is just my opinion, He doesn't tell us why. I think so that they could come back and bring a report. And report on what they saw. So that they could have an opportunity to believe the report. Because they were going to enter in by faith. See, it's by faith that the elders obtained a good report. And God had them send in spies so they could come back and report, so they could say, we believe God, and we're going to march in here in faith, believing that God gave us this land. But you know what? The sad thing is, as we read in Hebrews chapter 4 a moment ago, the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it. So here's what they're hearing now. Send men that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give to the children of Israel. Of every tribe of their fathers shall you send a man, every one a ruler among them. And Moses, by the commandment of the Lord, sent them from the wilderness of Paran, and all those men were the heads of the children of Israel. And now we have verse after verse of the names of the people that were sent. So let's skip down a little bit. And let's see. Let's skip down to verse 17. And Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, and said to them, Get you up this way southward, and go into the mountain, and see the land, what it is, and the people that dwell therein, whether they be strong or weak, few or many, and what the land is that they dwell in, whether it be good or bad, and what the cities they dwell in be that they dwell in, whether in tents or strongholds, and what the land is whether they be fat or lean, whether there be wood therein or not. And be ye of good courage, and bring the fruit of the land. Now the time was the time of the first ripe grapes. And so that's important because they come back bringing this huge cluster of grapes. And so they go spy out the land, they take a look around, and so they come back and they've got this huge cluster of grapes on a staff. And skip down to verse 26. And they went and came to Moses and Aaron. They've all come back now. Spies have come back. They went to Moses and Aaron and to all the congregation of the children of Israel unto the wilderness of Paran and Kadesh, and brought back word unto them and to all the congregation, showed them the fruit of the land. And they told him, and they said, We came to the land whither thou sentest us, and surely it floweth with milk and honey. See, they said, that's true. What God said was true. He told them that ahead of time. And they said, man, we have seen it, and this is it. It really is true. It flows with milk and honey, and here's the fruit of it. They had the big cluster of grapes. But listen to this, verse 28. Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled, and are very great. Moreover, we saw the children of Anak there, and the Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, and the Hittites, and the Jebusites, and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites, all the ites. I always am tempted to add in the termites, but anyway. All the different ites, all these different people dwell by the sea and by the coast of Jordan. Now, you know what really in essence they're saying? Yeah, we saw what God told us. It is a land that flows with milk and honey. But you know what? There's something God didn't tell you. There's something God didn't tell us about. There's giants there. And there's all these obstacles. And there's all these things, walled cities. God didn't tell us about that. You know why God didn't tell them about that? Because it didn't make any difference. What difference does a walled city make if the God of creation is on your side? What difference does the Amorites make if God's on your side? What difference does financial difficulty make if God's on your side? What difference does physical symptoms make if God's on your side? But you see, we tend to, as they did, we tend to look at all those physical things, and those are really big in our eyes. But you see, what we're supposed to do, what they were supposed to do, is mix faith with the word that was preached to them. Now, we just read in Hebrews, they didn't, and it didn't profit them. See, God wanted them to go into the land and have all that. But here's what happened. And they told all those things, all those difficulties, all those challenges. And I'm sure the more they talked about it, the bigger it sounded. You know, they started talking about those walled cities. Man, you start thinking about that, and they get bigger and bigger. But listen to this, verse 30. Caleb stilled the people before Moses. Listen to this. Let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. How come he said that? He mixed faith with what he heard. Didn't he see the walls? He's one of the spies. Didn't he see the giants? Didn't he see? Yeah, he saw them. But you know what? On the inside of him, he was seeing a God that was bigger than all of that. And he said he mixed faith with it, whereas they didn't. Verse 31. But the men that went up with him said, We are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. How do they know? I don't know. How'd they know that? Really, seriously, how did they know that? They just imagined that. They just imagined that. See, the opposite of hope is fear. And they let fear and hope both look to the future. Is that right? Yes. Fear is when you look to the future and expect something bad to happen. Now, the antidote to that, see, I'm not putting that down. It's natural. That is a natural human response. But you see, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Caleb, in faith, said, Let us go up at once and possess it. You know, what made him so confident to say that? Because he was looking past the walls and the Amorites and the Jebusites and looking to a God who was bigger than all that. And in his mind, I'm sure he was thinking, God said, I give you this land. And if God said he gives us this land, well, what are we waiting for? That's what he's looking at. Doesn't matter. You know, when we get to the walled cities, God will have a way of dealing with it. And you know what? When they finally did, he did have a way of dealing. They came up when they finally got going after that generation died, and Caleb and Joshua were the only ones left. They were the only ones who said, let's go right now and get it. They outlived everybody else. Everybody else died, and the next generation came, and Joshua came, and they came up to a walled city, Jericho. Well, God had a way of dealing with it. Yeah. They walked around it for 7 days and didn't say a word. And they blew on some trumpets, and the walls fell down. And when they got inside, they got